Hello YouTube, this is the Coder channel and I am the coder. So today the problem at hand is Leetcode problem number 53, which is the maximum subarray problem. It's a very famous problem and it is asked in a lot of interviews in Amazon, in Facebook, Google, etc. And let's see what the problem statement is. Given an integer nums, so obviously nums is an array. Find a contiguous subarray which has the largest sum and return its sum. So this is means the problem statement is quite easy to understand. uh, if you look at the input, the input has some negative numbers and some positive numbers. What we have to do is find the maximum subarray sum of the contiguous locations. So here if you see 4, -1, 2 and 1 result in a sum of 6. That's why the sum of maximum subarray sum is 6 for this. Let's copy this in the work area and see how we can approach this problem. So if you think about this problem, it says about calculating the maximum subarray sum of the contiguous location. So if all the numbers were positive, then there was no issue. We just add all those numbers and get the maximum sum. But since the numbers are negative in between, we have to be careful in calculating the maximum subarray sum. So now what we can do is we can maintain two variables. One probably will have the current sum or the current contiguous sum, and we'll do a one pass through this array and we'll maintain the current sum such that the current sum is having the current sum of the contiguous location of the elements which we are traversing. And we have to make sure that we refresh the current sum whenever we find that current sum is lower than the current sum which we have actually got before. So we'll discuss this later, but we also have to maintain a variable called maxsum, which will have the maximum sum of any contiguous subarray, and we'll maintain this variable throughout our problem. Now the question is when to flush the current sum such that we always have the maximum current sum. So to flush the current sum, we need to remember one thing. If we have a negative value in current sum, then if we add that negative value to further any other element in the array, the value will be lowered to whatever that element is. So to explain it, negative number plus x is always smaller than x. So if the current sum is a negative number, we better flush it out with the next value of the array, which is here nums of I. So x can be thought as nums of the index. So let's dive into the solution, and I'm sure you will be able to understand and appreciate the solution. So first we'll have two variables as we discussed. One is the current sum and the other one is the max sum. So current sum, we can assign it to the first element of the array, so that we always have some value in current sum, and also max sum can be assigned to the first element of the array. So here we go, and we start with the second element of the array. So because we already got the first element, so we start with the second element, which is, so that's why index is 1, and we go up till the length of the array. So length, so nums dot length and index plus plus. Then the first step is to find to add the current sum if the current sum value till now is greater than 0. So if it is not a negative number current sum, then we have to add the current index with the current sum. So here we go. So we say if current sum less than greater than equal to 0, then simply what we have to do is add the current number in the current sum. So current sum equals current sum, just for the sake of understanding, sum plus nums of I. So obviously if the current sum is greater than or equal to 0, if we add current sum to nums of I, it will be always greater than nums of I. Else, if the current sum is less than 0, then we should rather flush the current sum and have the next number stored in the current sum. Okay, and this is the story of current sum, and now we just have to make sure that the max sum has always got the maximum value of all the current sum we have got till now. So max sum is math.max of current sum and max sum. So this way we have the maximum sum in max sum, and obviously at the when the one pass complete, when the loop complete, we have to just return the current sum, the maximum sum, and that will be our answer. So if you see this problem is slightly having a dynamic programming approach. Let's run it first before we talk about the complexity and all. So if we run this, let's see what happens. So let's see, it's running. So it says accepted for the test case which Leetcode has given. We'll just submit it. When we try to submit it, let's see. So I think it should be fine. Yeah, so its runtime is 100% faster and memory usage is almost 100%. So this is about the question, means the solution. If we look at the solution, it is having on complexity because we have gone through the array one time where n is the length of the array. But the important thing to note here is the approach we have done for making sure that we get the correct answer. So we have maintained a variable called current sum. So this is very similar to the dynamic programming approach we maintain. Instead of calculating that, backtracking and calculating the current the sum again and again, we have maintained that current sum in a variable. And also we know that we only have to deal with the maximum sum, so that's why we always have the maximum sum in max sum. That's why we don't see the full-fledged implementation of dynamic programming, but it is implicit use of dynamic programming. And this is a very common problem asked in the interviews because it involves slight amount of trick, but means these kind of things we should be able to figure out in the interviews during when we are asked these kind of problems, because it's a very small trick just to maintain the current sum and make sure that if it is greater than 0, then only just add the current sum with the current element. Otherwise replace the current sum with the current element, and we always have the max sum as the maximum value of current sum and return the max sum. So this was about it, and this is I think now pretty straightforward. Comment me if you have any questions. I will reply to your comment, and do tell me if you want any other Leetcode problem to be discussed in this channel. Thank you.